Hiya, Kelly Bear here, and today I'm with you for another instalment of the Neopagan November challenge set by Bittany over at the Sunshine State Witch YouTube channel. And yeah, I'm just going to jump straight in. Today I'll be answering questions 19 through 21, and I think this might be a bit quicker, this one, than all my others, just because I don't have much to say on each of them. Well, the last one I do, but we'll get to that. So number 19 is my god / goddess. And the really quick and easy answer is I don't have a god and or goddess. I don't. I'm not pantheistic. I don't do deity work. I don't work with those archetypes. I used to once upon a time, but that's not my practice anymore. I don't see the gods as individual actual beings in a sense. I do see them more as, I don't know. I think I'm still working through my thoughts on this, just because I'm having such a sort of paradigm shift at the moment, which I've spoken about in my Trad Witch tag response video that I put up a couple of days ago. So if you want to see me, if you want to see more about that, then go watch that. I don't want to like repeat myself. But yeah, being a bit more sort of pantheistic, a bit more animistic, sort of leaning more that way, I see sort of everything sort of being imbued. And I don't, and then with regards to like quote unquote the all, you know, like how some people see that there is a creator or creators and the all, like for me, there is no like singular being that has created all of this. I just feel like everything is a manifestation. If you're looking at it in a pantheistic viewpoint, I guess everything is God, and it's a manifestation of itself as a universe experiencing itself. And if you're looking at it in an animistic way, everything has that little spark of God within it, which there's links between the two, and I guess the two can get they still get a little confused in my head, although they are two different things, animism and pantheism, I mean, but there's a little bit of in between. So yeah, I'm still working that out, but I don't do deity work. I do spirit work. So for me, because people say, well, then if you don't believe in like a god or gods or goddesses or deity or what have you, and it's not necessarily that I don't believe in, it's just the form that it takes is different for me, that you will then how could you possibly work with spirits, because you would think that they don't exist, which I think is weird. It's like when people say atheists don't believe in anything, and that's not necessarily true, because atheism literally just means a non-belief in God, atheism. And I know plenty of atheists that still believe that there are such things as spirits, or, you know, that certain cryptids could be real, you know. So it doesn't, they tend to be more skeptical, and I would still class myself as still quite skeptical. But yeah, it doesn't mean that oh God, the dog's on the move. You're right there, not me. You okay, boo boo? And yeah, so well, I've just got distracted by my dog, and now I can't remember what my point was going to be. And that was it. So yeah, so I do spirit work. So for me, the idea that spirits and other kinds of beings, whether that's discarnate humans, whether that is beings that are not human, beings that have never been incarnate, the existence or non-existence of a god doesn't mean that those things don't exist. Do you see what I mean? Like, one does not mean that anyway, I'm not being very articulate. I said this was going to be quick, and then I just rambled nonsensically about about this topic. Anyway, let's move on to the next one, which is air. 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 Sorry, I'm in a weird mood this morning. It's the first day of the week, and I've just sort of like, what's the time? I've been up for 3 hours already, and I've done quite a lot. I've been quite busy, and I'm just like, I'm going to have a nice break, and I'll sit down and film a video. But yeah, it's just sort of, I don't know. Anyway, that's not important. The air. The first thing that comes to my mind when I think of air is breath work. And I think I've spoken about breath work before. I spoke about grounding and centering with earth, but part of that is also then air and breath work. And breath work is really important to me personally, because I have anxiety disorder, which is so much fun. And by fun, I mean it's shit. And squirrel brain and yeah, like, you know, the fun of all that entails. And so breath work is not only really important in my spiritual practice in getting me centered and in sort of a space where I can meditate, and I do breath work as part of my meditation, but it's also really, really important to help me keep my head when I can feel myself starting to spiral in a certain situation. I need to try and stay calm and I need to be thinking clearly. Yeah, breath work is one of the main things that like gets me back down there. There's that thing that you can use with the five senses when you are starting to feel like you might have a panic attack or an anxiety attack, is where you sort of start, what can I see, what can I smell, what can I taste, what can I touch, what can I feel, that kind of thing. Like you use all your senses. That really helps. But yeah, breath work. So the thing that I find the easiest to do if I'm panicking is the box breathing. So it's you can do it to any number, but that for me usually is 4 breaths in, hold for 4, 4 breaths out, hold for 4, and repeat. And that really sort of slows things down. And the other one is you breathe in for 4, you hold for 7, and breathe out for 8. And I don't know why those, I just sort of squinted at that because I was like, when I think about it, it doesn't, that's the way that I learnt it, but those numbers don't make my OCD brain like unhappy, because 4, 7, 8 feels weird. So now I'm like, now that I think about it, maybe I should do like breathe in for 4, hold for 6, breathe out for 8. That makes me feel, my brain feel happier because it's in increments of 2. Isn't that weird how saying it out loud has just made me realise that annoys my brain a little bit? But it was just the way I was taught. I can't remember, like, you know, there's like 12 million books and videos and what have you, podcasts that talk about these kinds of things, and I cannot remember the first one, but the first time I heard it was in for 4, hold for 7, breathe out for 8. And yeah, so, and then for like breath work when meditating, it's how I get in. So I will breathe in for like breaths in on 1, out on 2, in on 3, out on 4. And I think I learnt that one using Headspace, I think. And then once you get to 10, you start again. And as soon as your mind starts to drift, you don't berate yourself, you just bring yourself back. You might say thinking or what have you. You might say what you're thinking about, and then you let it go. Let it go. And yeah, so yeah, air, super important. I'd also really like to try what it has become known as the Wim Hof method of breathing. I know quite a few people that have really swear by that, but I know that he sort of, it's an old technique, and I can't remember if it was some kind, maybe it was Tibetan monks or something. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember, but he's taken something that was a practice from some spiritual practice, a practice from a spiritual practice. I was trying to find another word to practice, so I wasn't like repeating the word because it sounds clumsy. But yeah, it's a technique used via some old spiritual practice that he has sort of popularized, and I don't know enough about him. I hope he doesn't lay claim to himself inventing it, because that would basically be really shit and taking the piss, and yeah, to claiming authorship over something that you didn't create. But you know, but yeah, it's what I've got a couple of friends that really swear by it. I have done some like work with having cold showers, not straight up cold showers, because but I have done that thing where I slowly turn the temperature down until I'm in almost cold water, and the longest I can usually last is 10 to 20 seconds. But now that it's getting cold, I'm like, not really feeling it. So they say, like, I've got friends that wild swim in rivers and the sea, and they say the best time to start is sort of at the height of summer, when the weather is at its warmest and the water is at its warmest, so that you can acclimate, and as it starts to cool down throughout the year, it's not so shocking to you. So I feel like I've missed my window with bringing cold showers in fully, so I might have to start again next year when it starts to warm up again. Who knows, we might have a really hot winter given climate change. You know, some people do have hot winters, obviously, depending where they are in the world. But here in old London town, yeah, it's definitely getting milder throughout the winters, which is a concern. It was late spring, early summer temperatures yesterday and the day before for the weekend, which was very concerning. So anyway, the third, I'm 10 minutes already, the third prompt is community. Now my tarot channel, which is my channel started as predominantly a tarot channel, I've spoken about that before, and I started with a tarot monthly challenge, and it's a really great way to get started with a channel if you're not sure what to make videos about, or you don't know how to sort of get into the community. I had been around on the community in live chats and commenting on other creators' videos, and so I just felt I just wanted to jump in. That would be, hang on, like 7 or 8 years ago come January. Where does the time go? 4, 6, no, hang on, I can't count. Anyway, never mind. I've had a channel for a while, but it started off as a tarot channel, and I already felt like quite a sort of sense of community because I had already been interacting with people, and then I started a channel and I made a video which suddenly people started doing VRs too. It wasn't a tag that I had set, people just sort of took it upon themselves to sort of make VRs, and it sort of took off a little bit, and suddenly I had a bunch more followers quite quickly. My channel isn't huge, but that did sort of give did bump the numbers up quite a bit, and it was a bit sort of like, whoa. And then more people started to join into TarotTube, and now there are people in that community that, and I say that because this is WitchTube, but although there is obviously crossover, in the tarot community that I have met in person, a few of them I would class as like friends, like really good friends, that I care very much about, that I am in communication with on the regular, like outside of YouTube or Facebook or whatever. We like communicate like phone calls or WhatsApp or what have you, and yeah, it's been really lovely. There have also been some not so lovely experiences. Being on the internet does mean that there will be trolls, there will be drama, you will put your foot in it, you'll like put your foot in your mouth at some point and fuck up because you're human, and like, it happens. As long as you learn and you do better. Sometimes you just need to have a break because social media can be a lot just generally. Sometimes you have lulls. I've definitely had tarot lulls and tarot breaks, and not been well enough to make videos, or been not in the headspace to make videos. But all in all, like, that community is still there. And that's also, like, I've watched WitchTube for a long time as well. I mean, the reason I got back into tarot was watching a well-known witch tuber, which is Kellyanne Maddox, and she talks, I think her channel was a lot about tarot as well at the beginning as well, but then she started to bring in a lot more of the witchcraft as well. But yeah, she's the reason I dusted off my tarot decks, my old tarot decks from my attic, and started to get back into it. So I'd really, I mean, maybe it would have happened at some point down the line, but she's the reason that it happened at that point, and I'll always be eternally grateful to Kellyanne for that. I don't know if I've ever said that to her, but she's got 12 million followers. I'm sure she gets messages like that all the time. But yeah, I'm really grateful to this community with all that it has brought, good for good or ill. And another interesting point about community, because I know some people will say, well, it's not a community because a community isn't really a community, it's a number of small little groups of people. And yeah, like TarotTube, WitchTube, BookTube, for example, there'll be loads of different pockets. There'll be people that have huge tarot channels or witch channels that I've never heard of, that I, maybe one day I'll stumble upon, and they have loads of their own little, and maybe there'll be 1 or 2 people that I know in there, but I don't know that, you know what I mean? Because it's so vast. But it's still a community. And also, just because, like, I remember Lou Valcourt, who is another awesome witch tuber, the Rocker Witch. She, I remember her doing a video about community, and she said that, people talk about, a tarot community or any other kind of online community, a witch community online, as though it has to be one it has to be one cohesive whole where everyone knows everyone and everyone gets on, but that's not what community means. And she gave a really good example of a neighborhood. So, you know, in your neighborhood, you are a community. A neighborhood is, by its very definition, a community of people that live there, a community of people who work there, a community of people who do both, right? You'll have people who live and work within the same area. And so, you know, an example of where I live, I know my neighbours, I know who lives, I'm on the top 2 floors, and I know who lives, you know, in all the floors below me. I know my neighbour next door. I know the people that run a couple of the shops. I live above a parade of shops, and so I know a bunch of the people that run the shops, because obviously I use the shops, but I don't know every single person that lives in this huge parade of shops, or all the people that live above them. I don't know every of them. I might know a couple of them to look at them, but I wouldn't to see them and go, oh, they're the ones that down at da-da-da. But I don't know them, and again, like, I don't get on with everyone. There are people in this community. There's a guy that I see around in the community who I had a really horrible run-in with, and he was sexually harassing me and catcalling me, and I see him all the time in the community, and there's nothing I can do about it, but I don't like him. He's a real creeper, but you know, he's part of my community. He lives around here. I see him all the time. I try to avoid him as best I can, but he's part of the community whether I like it or not. Do you see what I mean? So I thought that was a really interesting point, because everyone's like, community means love and light and everyone loves each other, and that's not unfortunately that's not the way, because people are people. And you know what, you know, and I quoted Dita Von Teese before, where she says, you know, you could be the sweetest, juiciest peach in the world, and there'll still be someone who doesn't like peaches. Sometimes you don't get on with someone's content, or just how they are as a person, you know, their videos, and it's not that you have anything against them, it's just really not your vibe. And that's fine. You know I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I know that some people will say I talk too fast. Some people will say that I repeat myself. Some people will say, I mean, these are all true things. I mean, they always say that they're the reason that they don't enjoy watching me. Some people will say that I get distracted too easily, because squirrel brain, it's just, I can't help that. Some people say they just don't like my content, or they don't like that I'm just very, you know, just most of the time point and shoot, old school YouTube style, bit like Thorn Mooney still does. Love a bit of Thorn Mooney, who doesn't, right? Well, actually there'll be some people who don't, given this point that I'm making. But yeah, so and that's fine. You know, there are sometimes people that feel the need to comment and demand certain things from you when you're giving them free content, which I do find bizarre. Like, you should speak more slowly, you should stop swearing. You're like, do you know what, this is free. If you don't fucking like it, just don't watch. And also, like, when people hate watch and then they comment, and it's like, okay, fine, like, downvote and comment saying you hated this and you think I should, like, kill myself. Okay, like, bit dramatic, but like, more for you for sitting and hate watching something and you still took the time to comment. Like, who's the twat here? I just find it amusing, if to be honest, if anything. You know, it's just strange. But yeah, when people like make demands of you, and it's like, do you know what? You fucking make a video. It's free. Just like, you know, you know, the people that take the time to make the really beautiful, aesthetically edited videos. Do you know how much time and effort and money that takes? These people are putting that information and that content out for free, and people are like, will still be like, I don't know, what's the saying that kids say these days? Go touch grass. Anyway, this turned into a weird, like, semi-rant, but ultimately, so I'm just waving around this time. I always need something to fiddle with. I'm just fiddling with my Thoth deck. You know, everyone, I basically, yay community, for good or ill. And I'm going to stop rambling because I'm nearly at 20 minutes, and I thought this was going to be short, and I can hear my washing machine going on spin cycle, and I'm having to speak more loudly because I don't know if you will be able to hear me, so I need to go now. I hope you're all well. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. See you in the next one. Ciao.